Okay, we're all set. Good morning, everyone. I am Sig from the Philippines. I'm representing Teatrong Mulat ng Pilipinas, a children's theater company actually utilizing the form of puppetry to tell stories and to gather children for fun and for entertainment and for learning. And Teatrong Mulat is actually, next slide please. Yes, this is our logo. You have the pagong or the turtle and the monkey, chongo. So it's a very popular tale in the Philippines. So, next slide, please. It's founded in 1977 by Amelia La Peña Bonifacio. Is actually a professor in UP who had her chances to go abroad and to see different forms of theater, to see different practices of theater and children's theater and playwriting. And then, as she went back to the Philippines, she then realized that there was no actually formal theater group that is dedicated for children's theater. So she decided to form her own children's theater and then started collecting stories of myths and folklores in the Philippines and around Southeast Asia. And then she studied different theater forms and puppetry forms around Southeast Asia. So she got inspirations from Wayang Kulit, Wayang Golek, Bunraku from Japan, Nangyay from Thailand. And then she gathered all of these learnings together and tried to draft her own aesthetic of puppetry, and that's what we have now in Teatrong Mulat. So we somehow go to Paete, it's a wood carving province in the Philippines, and she asks the wood carvers from Paete to actually craft the puppets. So before that, there was really no tradition of puppet making in the Philippines. But of course, we know of Sesame Street, so we had our own take on that in the television. We have our Batibot and other television shows for children that uses puppetry as well. And then mulat in Tagalog means to awaken or to wake up. So it's like the opening of the eye. So Amelia La Peña Bonifacio decided to actually awaken the children and the younger generations, well actually also anyone from any age, to the beautiful culture of the Philippines, of the Southeast Asia, and Asia particularly. That's why she borrowed some of the forms in Asia. So, next slide please. So to awaken the culture, the myth, and the stories, and to remind everyone that we have a very rich culture. Okay, she's also a writer, by the way. So, sorry, it's left actually. I was kind of dizzy when I was making this one. So, in the left, it's the Pagong at Chongo performance in the early 90s. So before that, Teatrong Mulat didn't have its own space to perform to. So, to perform in. So, they go to communities, they have their huge set pieces, they have their van going to places, and then they perform in the plaza. They gather children around. And then, I remember at one point, there was this story from one of the older members of Teatrong Mulat. After the eruption of Mount Pinatubo, Mulat asked for funding. I think it's through Japan Foundation. And then they were able to go around the devastated areas of Mount Pinatubo and perform in hospitals, in parks. So that's part of the thrust of Mulat. And the top is Bread of Salt. It's an adaptation of one of the stories of our national artists. Next slide, please. So basically, again, to awaken the culture, that's why we get stories from folklores, from myths. So this is Baguhukom, or The Trial Among Animals by Haring Sinukuan. It's a local folktale in the Philippines, in central Philippines. Okay, next slide, please. Pagong Chongo, okay. Next slide. These are the types of performances. Puppet Passion is actually an annual panata performance. Panata means a promise to sacrifice something. So this one is for free. We're doing it for free. We're bringing the story of Christ through in the children, to the children, and we have this larger tradition of sinaculo, and we try to use puppetry to introduce the form of sinaculo as well to children. So next, okay, some photos. Next slide, please. Okay, similar to some Asian countries, we also have our version of Ramayana. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide. Araw and Bulan. Next slide, please. Next, please, next. So we also join festivals to learn. Next slide, please. and to widen our knowledge on puppetry. Basically, our main form is puppetry. Next slide, please. Now come the workshop. Interestingly, we workshop kids, so similar with all of the previous speakers. But what's interesting is that at one point, next slide please, we conducted a workshop for daycare workers. So we introduced to them the form of puppetry and how they can use puppetry to teach children about many things, about advocacies that we're trying to propagate and champion. Next slide please. Okay, so these are some of the photos. We went to different regions in the Philippines and worked with UNICEF. Next slide please. Okay, this is a book drive project after the Yolanda storm. Next. Okay, and lastly, we have research. So, similar to Anino, I think we also have some critics who are interested in studying the forms now and aesthetic of Teatrong Mulat ng Pilipinas. And right now, it's being documented in the academe and in journals. And sorry, for the lastly, we have our own space, and I think Carnival is also imploring the use of our own theater. It's Amelia La Peña Bonifacio Teatro Puppet Museo. So it's a space, and it also has its own museum at the second floor. And right now, it's still a work in progress, a work in progress theater. So it's not yet finished. But we are already holding shows there for children. That's all. Thank you.